Where some of the top-rated quarterbacks will land in this year's draft.
What's up, First Take fam? Thank you so much for being with us on a Tuesday. Remember, catch First Take weekdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. But right now, a lot of hot topics to get into. LeBron calls a Kevin Love trade rumor trash. We'll discuss what's going on with LeBron and the Cavs, and Stephen A will give us the real spit there. Tom Brady turns 40 this summer, so should the champion Patriots extend his contract? Can't wait to hear Max on that subject. Plus, how will the Falcons Super Bowl meltdown impact them next season, for better or for worse? Let's get it started. You know what it is, First Take on a Tuesday. My guy, Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman, I'm Molly Qerim. How we feeling, fellas?
How great is the NBA, by the way? What are we doing?
How great
is the NBA? Because we're all lamenting like it's one of the most dramatic Super Bowls ever. How are we going to wait till football season? What are we going to do? And then by like the middle of the fourth quarter last night, Cavs and Wizards, I'm already over it. I'm ready for the rest of the NBA season.
That was a treat, no doubt about it. But every game has not been like that this NBA season.
Come on. Don't start on that Debbie Downer note.
Don't be a basketball grit.
We're going to get into that, but we have some other news to get into in the association, where there is a whole lot of chatter regarding a Kevin Love Carmelo Anthony trade with the deadline on the horizon. The New York Daily News cover this morning with the headline, "The King has spoken, bring Melo to me." The Cavaliers look to put an end to the speculation. Here's LeBron shutting down the report.
Can you imagine this team without Kevin Love, LeBron?
Nope.
There was a report in the New York Post today. You're probably familiar with it.
Heard about it. It's trash. And the guy who wrote it is trash, too, for writing that, especially during a game like that. So, you know, it's always about outside noise, and that's just outside noise. For us, we got to focus on what needs to be done in order for us to continue to compete for a championship, and we got who we got. Our GM will do a great job of, you know, figuring out if we need something else, but right now we're in a good place.
A lot of trash being thrown around, Stephen A. Do you believe LeBron?
Yeah, I believe him. I believe him in this particular instance because, listen, LeBron would love to play with Melo, yes, but the report specifically said that LeBron wants Melo so bad, go ahead essentially and push Kevin Love out the door. That's not what he's saying here. He doesn't mind playing with Carmelo. He'd love to play with Carmelo Anthony, but he's not going up there and saying, get rid of Kevin Love, then going in the locker room later on in the day and smiling in Kevin Love's face like everything is all right. Kevin Love is not the kind of guy that deserves such a thing. He's one of those guys, just on a personal level, Max, he's one of those guys that at his core, he's an incredibly decent dude that you don't want to do something like that to. He's the kind of guy that you sit up there and you pull aside, you have a conversation with him if you got any differences, because he's a really good guy. He's a damn good basketball player. He's got skills, but he's a good locker room guy as well. And so LeBron is very sensitive to stuff like that, and that's why I think you saw him speak out the way that he did. I would tell you he's a bit misguided in pointing the finger at the reporter, because he should be pointing the finger at the individuals who probably gave the reporter that story. I've known Frank Isola for more than 2 decades. If you tell me that there's somebody better at covering the New York Knicks and the New York basketball market, I'll call you a damn liar. This dude is big time. And not to mention the fact that he has a multitude of sources. Although I totally believe LeBron that he's right about what he's saying in terms of it not being true, what I would say is that somebody told Frank Isola that. He didn't get it out of thin air. He didn't get it from whether it's somebody from the Knicks, who I suspect has something to do with it, whether it's an agent who I'm hearing had something to do with it as well, or somebody from the Cavs who communicated with that agent. And I'm certainly not implying that it's GM David Griffin, because I don't think he would do that. The bottom line is that there are a multitude of avenues upon which this story could have been leaked to Frank Isola. Although I'm told by multiple sources it's incredibly inaccurate, and I totally believe LeBron. At the same time, don't kill the messenger here.
Right.
Kill the dudes that are giving him that information, because you got a whole bunch of people that want to create narratives, and more importantly, don't mind bringing dissension and acrimony to the life of LeBron James. He is a consistent target. People get at him all the time. People say false stuff about him all the time. And I think that's what happened here.
We're going to talk about this more a little later in this segment, so let's table what the motivation could be for a source, you know, talking to Isola. I mean, Isola's not making stuff up.
Right.
You're not a respected reporter for years and years and years and years in the biggest marketplace in this country because you don't know how to do your job.
Right.
And so the question is, do you believe LeBron that the report is trash? In other words, that it's not true. Yes, I believe it's not true. Not that Isola is making it up,
right,
but that it's not true.
Right.
And then the question, why would LeBron's been a credible source. He's not one of these guys like a college coach who says, how dare anyone ever say that I'm going to go to the NFL? I've made a commitment to this school, and then the next day they're gone.
Yeah.
That hasn't been LeBron. He's been straightforward.
That's a good one.
I mean, this is who he is. He's a credible source. So why did he come out this way? He came out his face at Isola. Not only was the report trash, but the reporter is trash, is what he said.
Right.
And that, who knows what goes on between them. I think that's a low blow from LeBron. But I think it indicates a larger issue we're seeing with LeBron. And I saw it starting in the playoffs last year. You know, I talk a lot about him bullying the Warriors and Steph to gain a psychological advantage. And then this year, the way he went at Barkley, the way now he's going at Isola, the message is, I quote Jay-Z from time to time. I just did it on SportsCenter. With you, Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, but that don't matter. You on First Take now.
Don't bark up that tree will fall on you. That's LeBron's message to the league and the world. Like, I'm minding my own business, but if you bark up this tree, be prepared for the clapback.
Stephen A., before you respond to that, I just want to be clear. So you guys are saying that Frank Isola essentially got bad information.
Yes.
So he reported a bad report that was given to him.
Essentially.
Got it.
Essentially, yes. But also understand that think about the backdrop of all of this. Think about the weeks that led up to this. We all know that Carmelo Anthony, that LeBron James wouldn't mind having Carmelo Anthony. We also know that that LeBron James has been on the record stating emphatically that the Cleveland Cavaliers need to improve this roster. I don't need LeBron James nor Frank Isola or anybody else. I have my own damn sources. And I'm here to tell you something right now. LeBron James has been on them to improve the roster, and the Cleveland Cavaliers, there has been some concern about the health of Kevin Love. Nobody is questioning Kevin Love's skill. Nobody is questioning his character, that he's a quality person. Kevin Love could be on my team any day of the week. He's a really good guy, and he's a tremendous player. But there have been questions about his health, which is why the New York Knicks thought they had a legitimate chance at acquiring him to begin with. Then you also have to take into account the shots that LeBron has taken at Phil, because Phil took shots at him. You never know where the narratives could be created to create, some kind of acrimony, some kind of discomfort for LeBron James. This story didn't come out of thin air. There's an agenda here. Now, Frank Isola may have been used as the conduit, to disseminate that information. But at the end of the day, that shouldn't be where.
Or it could be a bad case of telephone.
That shouldn't be where LeBron James' focus lies. It should be on who's trying to say that about me and put this on me in case change is made.
Now, look, I think there are the source that Isola probably had ulterior motives. But it could be telephone. Like, in grade school, you could play telephone where you go around in a circle, someone says something, by the time it gets around to you, it's completely changed because people interpret the message. You could see where someone said, LeBron really wants to play with Carmelo, and obviously Kevin Love has been discussed as the exchange that would make sense, particularly if he's not healthy, and so that could get confused. But when you really look at it, it doesn't make sense, especially, I referenced off the top of the show, maybe the best game in the NBA so far this season, when the Cavs just beat the Wizards in overtime. That was a great game. You know who won that game for? I mean, you could point to Kyrie, certainly, who came up big, LeBron down the stretch. Kevin Love with his sharp shooting from outside, hitting the glass, the defensive rebound that salted the game away at the end. I mean, it sealed the win for him.
Stop right there. You see, this is me talking to. You don't get to be that slick, Max Kellerman. Because the Max Kellerman that I remember never hesitates to bring up how much the same Kevin Love struggled during the NBA Finals. Sure. And I happen to know, that Max Kellerman, June is far more important than February. So the fact that he had a great game last night, don't give me that as your argument. I don't want to hear that. Now, I happen to have a lot of respect for Kevin Love, and I'm certainly not implying that you don't. But I do understand, but I do know what you're doing here, and it's kind of slick. I remember you repeatedly pointing out how you were very disappointed in his offensive output in the final.
Yes.
So don't give me some 39-point effort on February 6th.
He is more integrated into the team's offense than ever. That's what they need. They don't need an ISO scorer on the Cavs. That's not their biggest need. Kevin Love fits well, and furthermore, even if you believe Carmelo Anthony is a better player than Kevin Love at this point in their careers, right now, if you believe that, and there'll be that opinion will be divided among basketball people about that.
It is divided.
Even if you believe that, though, Kevin Love's now in his third season on the team. They just won a championship. The way he just played against a team they may see in the Eastern Conference Finals, though I agree, the Warriors series is most important, indicates that more important than just who's better, especially if it's close, it's who fits better and who's been integrated into the offense over the last 2.5 years.
This is not your fault, but let me say this to you. You're missing something. And the thing that you're missing, and I'm very, very shocked knowing the capitalist that you are, that you would miss this. You're missing money. You got to remember, they invested $113 million into Kevin Love. The Cleveland Cavaliers can say whatever they want. If they truly believe that Kevin Love's health is that compromised, they don't want that money on their books. You got to remember that, too.
Sure.
So that's very, very important. So, again, from a basketball perspective,
health is an X factor. I can see that.
I understand that. I'm just saying it's important to recognize that these stories are not coming out of thin air about Kevin Love. But I want to emphasize it's only because folks are questioning his health, not his game, not his character.
His back looked pretty good last night.
It did.
Yep.
It did. It did.
Let's leave it there. Coming up a little later in the show, we've got a good barbershop debate for you. We're going to ask you who's the best in their sport, LeBron James or Tom Brady.
Why I got to be barbershop? Why can't it be salon?
Oh,
why can't it be salon?
You think they're talking about it in the salon?
It's a hair salon. It's a hair salon debate.
Maybe in the saloon. I don't know about the salon.
What about
You're right, Stephen A.
I think the ladies tend to talk about Tom Brady. I think they do.
Thank you.
I think they do.
Thank you for correcting me.
I'm just saying. I got to bring it up.
They can't talk about LeBron.
I got to look out for the ladies. I'm sure they can talk about LeBron too.
On that note, we're going to stay with the association. So about last night, the Lakers defeated the Knicks 121-107 last night at MSG. Carmelo had 26 points, shot 59%. His teammates shot 42% in the loss. Coach Jeff Hornacek, Carmelo Anthony, Kristaps Porzingis, and Brandon Jennings all cited a lack of effort and pride. Jennings added that it's the worst they've looked this season, saying the trade rumors surrounding Melo are no excuse for the team's poor play. Max, how bad does this make Melo look?
Doesn't make Melo look bad at all, I don't think. Melo's giving an honest effort. Melo's embraced New York. The city's embraced him. He's embraced his desire or the idea that he could help bring the Knicks to prominence once again-ish. I mean, it's been a long time. And I don't think that he has anything to be ashamed of or hang his head over. Phil Jackson doesn't look good right now. Not that long ago, Phil Jackson was winning the debate as the greatest coach in NBA history. I mean, in the modern era, yeah, he had Jordan, he had Kobe and everybody, but Red Auerbach was, pre-modern NBA, and Phil Jackson was modern NBA, won 11 championships as a coach, and the only one of his primetime players who won without him was Shaq, and that was one championship. Everyone else, Jordan, Pippen, Gasol, everybody. Kobe only won with Phil. He looked really good. And now, how if Bill Belichick wants to trade with you, you're like, oh, careful. Yeah. Don't trade with Bill Belichick. He's going to get the better of the trade. Do you know how many teams are salivating at the idea of trading with Phil Jackson? And the reason I wanted to table the discussion before, Stephen A., about what could be influencing what Isola's hearing is it's not hard to imagine someone in the Knicks front office is trying to gin up interest or at least pressure on the Cavs to deal Love for Melo. Because what they know is Phil Jackson has so devalued Carmelo's trade value now that teams know, the Clippers know, the Cavs know, all the likely trade partners know is we can get Carmelo, and Phil Jackson is so incompetent in this respect that we don't have to give up anything really good for him. They know that. They saw the Shumpert and J.R. Smith to the Cavs trade. They saw the Tyson Chandler trade. Phil doesn't get anything back for those guys. So the league is going, oh, watch this. We're about to take the Knicks for Carmelo, not give up anything. And someone in the Knicks front office, apparently, it seems to me, is trying to create some pressure on the Cavs to deal Kevin Love so they're not humiliated in a trade loss right now. That's what I think is going on. I think Carmelo looks fine.
I love me some Carmelo Anthony. I really do. Everybody knows that. Can't give him a pass. He looks bad. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why Carmelo Anthony looks bad. Because the Knicks stink. They're sorry. It's just that simple, okay? And at some point in time, when you're being paid $122 million, You got to be the dude that has the capability to stop the bleeding. When you're getting paid that kind of money, you got to at least do something that keeps you respectable. I don't like the team. I'm not overly impressed with the team that Russell Westbrook has. But look at how he balls. Look at the impact. They struggled in New Orleans with Anthony Davis, particularly when Jrue Holiday took some time off to be with his wife, who was ailing. But they've been better. And we all know that Anthony Davis is one of the best players in the world. Every single squad that you point to in the NBA, even though they may be significantly removed from the championship equation, when you are a legitimate, bona fide, big-time player, at the very least, your team is average. They don't stink. And Melo's New York Knicks stink. I cannot absolve him. So what I'm saying to you is this. Is he the biggest culprit? No. That would happen to be Phil Jackson right now because he's asleep at the wheel, okay? Literally and figuratively, depending on which day you pick, all right? And we all know this, and it's a disgrace and embarrassment, the job that he's doing. But I can't sit here. To my man, I cannot sit here looking at the skills you have, 6'8", 240, can score at will on anybody, inside, outside, free throw line, mid-range game, 3 points, etc. You have this arsenal available to you, and yet this team stinks.
Newsflash. They're like, welcome to what the rest of us already know. You've always overrated Carmelo Anthony. He's an incredible offensive weapon in the sense that he can score at will. And when he is used properly on teams that weren't great, he can win 50 games as a centerpiece of a team and get your team to the playoffs, maybe even the second round, because actually he demands so much attention because of his offense. The defense has to, when he's finding open men, which he has done in the past at times, he's a valuable asset. But that was Carmelo at his best, and even then he was a little bit overrated because he never played defense. What you're really saying is Carmelo is not really a superstar in terms of his impact on a team. Kidding.
Melo is not a superstar. Melo is a star. He is a bona fide, legitimate, big-time star offensively. My issue, I've never held him to the level of culpability that other people have. But I will, in the interest of full disclosure, as I've repeated, I'll say this again. I covered Allen Iverson. Why is that a big deal? Forget the games for a second. I'm talking in terms of identity, in terms of impact. When you gave Allen Iverson the ball, you said, take me there. Larry Brown, Billy King, Pat Croce come in there and said, this is what we have. I'm going to evolve talent around him that defends, rebounds, and does their job.
They didn't do that with Melo.
And plays their role. Melo was never given that.
But I want to speak to that.
But hold on for a second. But to answer the question directly, I'm not going to sit here knowing that they haven't done that for him, knowing that Melo is shortchanged. I'm still not going to let him completely off the hook. So now, acting like there's no culpability there.
So now you've come around entirely to my way of thinking.
No.
On the one hand, you admit he's a star, not a superstar. That's what I've been saying all along. And on the other hand, you admit right now he doesn't look bad, because if you already knew that, which I did, and I've been saying, then what you know is on a team with Carmelo, he's good enough where him and Kristaps Porzingis on the same team, you should not have a bum squad. And right now they're playing like bums.
They're playing like,
so that's not his fault.
But wait a minute. But they haven't always played like bums. I'm saying this now because the question today is about what culpability he has right now. Absolutely, you don't get off the hook. But when they're not playing like bums and they're playing hard, but the requisite pieces are not around him, that was not his fault. So my argument is consistent in that regard. I'm saying to you, he's never been a stout defender. I've always called him a superstar offensive player. That's what I've always said. But in the end, right now, when we're talking about the Knicks' effort, I can't let the star off the hook.
Real quick, culpability.
That's on you.
Real quick, let's list these culpability. Okay, in terms of culpability, Dolan, Phil Jackson.
No.
Hornacek,
Phil Jackson,
Melo.
Melo. Phil Jackson.
Phil Jackson 1, Dolan 2. Who's
Melo
3? Melo 3. Okay, I would agree with that. Melo is below those two. Sure.
Let's leave it there, guys. We'll come back to the association a little bit later, but when we come back from break, some NFL talk. They say time heals all, but can the Falcons ever recover from their Super Bowl collapse? We shall get into that. And if it was up to Giselle, Brady would retire right now, but he says he's going to keep on keeping on. But for how long? By the looks of Bill Belichick last night and Jimmy Fallon, he's not too concerned about anything.
I know it's only the half, or, this is the third quarter. You're going in there going, do you meditate? Do you go, beat the ball? There is no ball. Kumbaya. Yeah, I mean,
He's a big meditator, Coach Belichick.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We do a lot of that.
Yeah, you do a lot of that.
You could argue that it'd be the perfect time for Tom Brady to retire. With a ring for every finger, sail off into the sunset on a high note. But this is Brady we're talking about, people. And if he had that attitude, let's be honest, he wouldn't be the GOAT.
If it was up to my wife, she would have me retire today. She told me that last night 3 times. Okay. And I said, too bad, babe. I'm having too much fun right now. And, I feel like I can still do it. And, if you love what you do and you're capable of doing it, then I'd be so bored if I wasn't going out there knowing that I could still do it. So I'm going to work hard to, be ready to go. And, I still plan on playing for a long time.
Can't blame Giselle. I'd want my husband home too. Jeff Saturday in the house. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
How you doing?
Fantastic.
All right, let's get into it. So Brady's going to keep playing, Max.
Yeah.
If you were giving him an extension, how many years would you have?
I'd give him a huge bonus, right? I mean, you got to pay him out of respect. I'd give him 2 years because he's 40 years old. And as I keep saying, no quarterback in the history of football has been great at 41 because him falling down, first of all, because you need to spread the signing bonus over more than just one season, right? You might even consider 3 if you can decline, if the salaries are, the cap hit isn't as bad in the 3rd year. And he can still be functional at the age of 41 or something like that. But look at recent history of Brady-level athletes, and beyond in some cases. Kobe Bryant. Now, he was coming off an injury. The Lakers gave him an extension. The only benefit was you kept some fans happy and you picked really high in the draft in consecutive years. Derek Jeter, even before his injury. And Derek Jeter's a pretty good comp with Tom Brady. Derek Jeter was still hitting 300 and doing all the things Jeter did, at least on the surface level in terms of his offense. And the Yankees played hardball with him because they realized he's at the age where no shortstop has ever been good past that age. And they played hardball. It got acrimonious, in the media. And the Yankees were smart because in Jeter's last year, he wasn't good. And part of the reason they didn't make the playoffs was Jeter wasn't good. Part of the reason the Lakers stunk is because Kobe wasn't good. Peyton Manning, yes, he was hurt. But he came back and threw 55 touchdowns, breaking Tom Brady's record for touchdowns in a season. And everyone in the world was saying, this man can play till he's 45 years old. And in the middle of the next season, where he was even better than the previous season, all of a sudden he's hurt, he goes down. So the idea is, well, Brady hasn't been hurt, blah, blah. Does he play a full contact sport? Oh, he does, where you can get hurt on any play. And will he be playing past an age where no one's ever been good? Yeah? Okay. 2 years, you pay him out of respect, maybe 3 if you can work the cap hit the right way, and that's it.
Well, see, the thing about it is what makes your argument full of it is that there's no retort to it. See, this is a master taking both sides. Here's the deal.
He did work it.
Brady's going to fall off a cliff, right, within a year.
Yeah.
But then he comes back here and he says, well, 2 years. And maybe 3 if he gets spread out. So what am I supposed to argue about that, Jeff? Because I'm getting ready to say 3. You
right,
see what I'm saying?
right.
I can't now, right? Because,
okay, let me clarify. You pay him for 1.
I can't
You pay him for 1. The other 2 years are just to spread the cap hit out.
So you really think he deserves 1? Let's say then he really thinks he deserves 1 year for purposes of the argument.
I'm sorry, Max. I have no argument. Well, he got me. Because here's
it's being reported 3 to 5.
Allow me to finish. I heard you. I sat here quietly and let you make your point. Allow me to make mine. Jeff Saturday, I'm sitting up here and I'm going like this. You know something? I can't wait this guy to open his mouth because he's been saying Brady's going to fall off.
Yes,
I've heard it. It's over, right?
I have heard
so then I'm sitting there like this. You got the 1 year, but then it could be 2, or then you can spread it to 3. You just spread it out. So it's really 1 year that you spread out for 3. My point to you is this. What am I supposed to say? Because guess what?
Whatever you want to.
Brady, the man is, what is it? The Super Bowl champion? Mm-hmm. Super Bowl MVP, 466 yards just 2 days ago. You mean that dude that averaged about 269 yards passing this year, that completed 67% of his passes this year, as far as I'm concerned, a minimum of 2 years guaranteed. 3 years would suffice, because even if Brady fell a little bit, there's such a discrepancy between him and 98% of the league that even falling off, he's still better than 28 other quarterbacks in the NFL.
No.
Yes.
Yes. No, it's not.
Oh, my God. side.
By the way, he was a little better than Matt Ryan, especially when it counted. That's not like a huge discrepancy. He is as good as Aaron Rodgers.
98% of the league. If you give me, you're going to sit there and say Aaron Rodgers. Right. Outside of Aaron Rodgers.
Sure.
I mean, we could put Drew Brees, Matt Ryan in the argument.
There's 4 or 5.
After that, there's 27 other teams.
Yep. Well, do you think that you can't win a Super Bowl with Ben Roethlisberger? Because that's obviously not true. Or Eli Manning or Matthew Stafford, maybe.
Really?
Or Andrew Luck. There are a lot of great quarterbacks.
Really? Oh, Andrew Luck, your league MVP. That dude? That same dude? That same dude that I told you wasn't going to make the playoffs. That dude.
By the way, was Peyton Manning, had he fallen off the cliff when he won the Super Bowl, yes or no?
But here's the difference in the situation that you're talking about with Peyton Manning. It was a change of offense, right? Which did not suit Peyton Manning's skill set. Really wouldn't have fit it year 10 and past, right? I mean, if you want to really be honest with what they were asking him to do. I know they try to talk about the pistol, they move stuff around, but Tom Brady has played in the same system since he's been in the NFL. That system is not going to change with Bill Belichick being there. It doesn't matter if McDaniels goes somewhere else, doesn't matter who else comes in the staff. They know what they're going to run. They know what benefits him as a quarterback. So if you're talking about Tom Brady, I would definitely do a 3-year deal with him right now. And here's why. Because Bill Belichick doesn't expect him to win every game for him. You know, the Super Bowl, 60-plus passes, they set it on his shoulders. How deep were most of his balls? Early in the first half, not good, poor completion percentage. They're challenging him, making him throw it. Second half, just like they played Seattle 2 years before.
Amazing performance in the second half.
Checking it down, 6-yard passes, let James White go do what he's going to do, put the ball over the middle. Edelman dropped one that would have been a big gain. Hogan drops one, would have been a big gain. So there's a lot of things. They understand how to coach around his deficiencies, even if they get
So you
bigger.
agree that on the vertical passes, it seemed to me, especially in the first half, when he was bad, it's when he had to put some mustard on the
you're challenging those throws. They're contested throws and they're deep throws. So what two things happen with that? The pass rush gets there because you're giving them time. So now you're taking shots and the clock in your head speeds up. So it's not just one guy, but also it's much more difficult for the receiver to make that grab. Again, contested catches. The ball has to be on the dime. The route has to be perfect. The setup has to. So it's just a much more difficult procedure all the way around. But if you take them down to the second half, this is where Tom Brady separates himself. He lets his playmakers do what they do. The thing that you can never take away from Brady and why you wouldn't want to shorten his career, he makes everyone around him better. He understands where they need to be, why they need to be there, the timing of being there. And he drives those guys, and they all know he's going to do his part to get that ball set there. They bring back Dante Scarnecchia, the offensive line coach. They improved in that area. Everybody talks about the sacks. Two of those sacks the other night were coverage sacks, all right? One was a play action where the defensive tackle really got blown by. Jarrett comes up in a gap, and it's just one of those freak things. Everybody's talking about all the line struggle. They were more coverage than anything. But when you shrank that down, Tom Brady could do that for another 3 years.
And by the way, he was great in the second. He's almost perfect in the second. And yet still try to give him the ball 3 times in the red zone.
I don't want to hear you agreeing with Jeff Saturday. Stop! I don't want to hear you agreeing with him. You heard what he just said. You still think Tom Brady is done in a year?
Yes.
No really? Oh,
yes.
Please.
I like 3 years.
I would like to make a gentleman's wager.
But by the way, we have to agree on terms. Do we agree that Peyton Manning fell off? Do we agree that Peyton Manning fell off the cliff in his last season?
You know what?
No. How could you call him off the cliff?
No. He threw 9 touchdowns and 17 interceptions.
I would say this. The year before, when he got hurt in the latter part of the season, you saw with the knee, the hip, all of that.
Part of it.
But here's the deal. Had he played in the system like Brady's playing in, where it's going to stay in the gun, you're not asking a ton of him athletically. Not a ton is being asked. It's the type of system you put them in. Brady doesn't have to relearn anything, right? Manning's arm, obviously, everything began to struggle. You saw it happen. But Brady, because of the system that will stay around him, those things won't be seen.
I need you to stop because you're letting him off the hook. You're letting him off the hook, and I got to stop you because you're breaking it down. What this man is saying, I want you on the record.
Yes.
Don't bring me no injuries. We understand. No. Hold on. You can't project.
That's why no one has played past 41.
No. Don't let me get footage on you. You said even if there are no injuries, by virtue of the fact that he's turning 40, he's done in a year.
Before 41, right.
You said he's done. You didn't say injuries.
But wait,
you didn't say injuries.
No, you got it backwards.
No.
Yes, even without injuries, he's in trouble because they fall off the cliff.
That's all I'm asking.
That doesn't exclude the possibility of injuries. Injuries may be the reason.
But you're saying if he stayed completely healthy, he would still be bad next year?
That's right.
No. Until the end of that, he might be really good till he's 41 years old. And after that, he won't.
No. You, listen, I got him. Don't let him off the hook. You're on the record.
Sure.
You said.
I'm being completely consistent.
You said even if he doesn't get hurt, by virtue of the fact that he's turning 40, he's done in a year. I'm saying don't bring up injury. We concede the injury. We concede the injury.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
We concede the injury.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
If he turns 40, he's done.
I'm glad we're on the same page about that. Do you agree that when Peyton Manning had won the Super Bowl, meaning he was still a starting quarterback for most of the season in the NFL, he had already fallen off the cliff, whether it was due to injury or something else? He was no longer Peyton Manning.
But he had the 4 back surgeries before then.
You're not.
Before then.
I know you're answering the question you want to answer, but answer my question.
I've been answering the question.
He fell off a cliff.
Peyton didn't fall off a cliff.
It was a slow bleed as you watched from the year before.
It wasn't a cliff. It wasn't your definition of a cliff. It wasn't great to terrible. It was not, Max.
Molly, he 55 touchdowns, on pace to do the same thing, 39, gets hurt, falls off the cliff, 7 whatever it was, more interceptions than touchdowns, and not a lot of touchdowns the following year. How do you go from 39 touchdowns, would have led the league if not for Luck's 40, and Luck, I think, rushed in a few.
Won a Super Bowl. I don't care what kind of defense he has.
Right, okay, but that's a separate issue. You're saying if you win a Super Bowl, you can't say you fell off a cliff. And I'm saying, yes, you can. That was no longer Peyton Manning, but with his guile on a great defensive team, he was able to win a Super Bowl. It means you can still play on the league.
All I'm saying to Jeff, I'll say it to Damian Woody. I'll say it to Ryan Clark. Anybody that comes on this show, we're shoving injury aside. Anybody who gets injured, you could ultimately fall off.
25,
what
45.
this man said,
Guys are missing the point.
Man said, no, he's not missing it. We're copying exactly what the hell he's saying. Max Kellerman said, if Tom Brady wants, because he's turning 40, he's going to fall off a cliff.
And wait a minute. And there's a possibility he may not be healthy. In other words, if he gets hurt.
Oh, no.
Wait.
I give up.
That is the point. You're playing a full contact sport. If Brady gets hurt and falls off a cliff, I don't want to hear, well, he got hurt.
Yes, Vince Carter's 40 years old, right?
Yeah.
Playing in the NBA. You think that's more demanding physically than playing football for 80-plus games he's playing?
Football's more demanding.
Okay, in my opinion, on the stress on the injuries you're talking about, I would say basketball is more stressing
in terms of joints and stuff.
Right, like Tom Brady. For 6 of the 7 days, he's going to be protected. He's not taking any shots. He's not getting beat up. He's not doing those things. Vince Carter is still producing athletically. I think Tom Brady still producing athletically. Look at his run.
Producing
in the Super Bowl.
You can produce athletically and no longer be the same. Wait, can I respond?
You just argued with him about who's much more physical. Like he wouldn't know.
Can I respond or no? You're arguing that since Vince Carter's still in the league, he's still Vince Carter. He has evolved into a different kind of player. Peyton Manning was still able to win a Super Bowl as a cerebral quarterback with a great defense, but he was no longer Peyton Manning.
Tom Brady's thrown 50 interceptions some season, and he's thrown 35 in others. They will morph into whatever they need to morph into offensively. So what I'm saying is he's still productive, he's still producing, he's still winning. That is the key to what you want. It's not about can he go throw 75 touchdowns. Who cares?
Let's wrap it up.
If you change the definition to being able to win on the Patriots, then you can deny the cliff. In other words, you can deny he's changed into a different player.
Jeff, you're saying 3 years. Stephen A., you said 3 years as well. And Max, you're saying
I would give him 2 or 3. I give him 2 years.
Max says you can't go 2 years, 2 years, 3 years. If he's injured, if he's not injured, I don't know.
Well, you got to pay attention to the details.
The Patriots pulled off an improbable comeback, but will the Falcons be able to recover?
That's all.
Yes, that's all. Yes or no?
Max can't recover.
You guys control yourselves for 1 minute, please. LeBron saved the day with this incredible game-tying basket at the end of regulation, but that isn't what people are talking about today.
There was a report in the New York Post today. You're probably familiar with it.
I heard about it. It's trash. And the guy who wrote it is trash, too, for writing that, especially during the game like that. So, it's always about outside noise, and that's just outside noise for us.
I'm Andy Katz from ESPN, along with my co-host Rick Klein of ABC News. On the latest edition of Capital Game, we're going to discuss President Trump's controversial executive order. We'll discuss it with Iowa's Peter Jock and SI.com's Michael McCain.
Rivalry week, thank God I only have to say that once, rolls on tonight on ESPN with an SEC Big Ten doubleheader at 7 p.m. Eastern. Kentucky hosts LSU. Then we'll head to Ann Arbor for Michigan State, Michigan Super Tuesday, presented by CenturyLink on ESPN. Michael Smith and Jamel Hill want you to join them weeknights for the new 6 o'clock Sports Center on ESPN. They're bringing their own brand of style and personality and flavor. And our next NBA Wednesday doubleheader tomorrow on ESPN at 7. The Clippers take on the Knicks, then the Bulls face the Warriors.
Backs up, look left, throws it for Evan, goal line, touchdown Patriots! Direct snap to James White, he's in for 2! Throws down the for Evan, ball tipped, and Joey is diving for it, Edelman has it, did he make the catch? He did! It's an unbelievable catch!
Yeah, it was one of the greatest catches I've ever seen. I don't know how the hell he caught it.
Hands it to White, touchdown Patriots! Quick throw to Evan, reaches across the goal line for a score! It's a high game in Super Bowl 51, driving forward, touchdown! And his comeback in Super Bowl history, led by the greatest quarterback.
So, if the Patriots pulled off the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history, you could argue the Falcons suffered the greatest collapse. You gotta feel for the city of Atlanta. Matt Ryan posting this on IG. We came up short last night, and my heart hurts for you, Atlanta. Hats off to New England. They played a heck of a game. We will adapt. We will overcome. We will rise up. Jeff Saturday's still with us. You're from Atlanta. Can't wait to get your thoughts on this subject. But I want to start with you, Stephen A. Can the Falcons recover from this?
They most certainly can recover. I mean, they're helped along by the fact that we're talking about the sport of the National Football League, where parity is like their second word, for crying out loud. Every single year, a new team props up. And if you're the Atlanta Falcons, you have a top-ranked offense, a top 3-ranked passing attack. The combination of Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman can really, really do some things out of that backfield. That offense is not going anywhere. You also happen to have the best receiver in football, as far as I'm concerned, in Julio Jones. And so Matt Ryan is your reigning league MVP, 38 touchdowns, just 7 interceptions. He was absolutely sensational this year. Came up smaller than expected, but we also have to give credit to the New England Patriots in terms of the time spent on the field, 40 minutes. They kept Matt Ryan off the field. As a matter of fact, when the Falcons had like a 28-3 lead or even 28-9, they literally had gone like an hour and 8 minutes without the ball. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, that's how crazy it was. Yep. And so when you look at it from that perspective, it's very, very difficult to judge Matt Ryan outside of that sack that he should not have taken, should not have put himself in a position to take it. It's pretty hard to judge Matt Ryan and the offense too critically. And then when you look at that defense, I got to admit to you, for 2.5 quarters, I was incredibly impressed and shocked. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I looked at Deion Jones. I looked at Freeney and Beasley and Jarrett and these boys and the way they were getting at Brady. The secondary is young, and they were going up against the surgeon. If they were going up against anybody other than Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, because I believe Aaron Rodgers has that capability, anybody other than those two, and they beat Aaron Rodgers, so let's not forget that. But if it's not Tom Brady, you're winning this Super Bowl. And so when I look at it from that perspective, I definitely think that the Atlanta Falcons have put the football world on notice that they're coming. This was a devastating loss, but they've been incentivized more so than ever to come out the block next season.
And they weren't winning games by a field goal in the playoffs. Their offense is for real, and their defense was coming around, right? So, you know, can they recover? Of course they can recover. They got the talent to do it, and if their defense gets better, look out. And as they, enter their primes, they should. But will they recover is another story. Because the rest of the league they also got a little fortunate in the playoffs. Green Bay was incredibly banged up by the time they played them. They didn't have to face the Cowboys and the ball control offense, right? And the Cowboys are going to be able to focus on the defensive side of the ball. The league catches on to what you run offensively and imitates. Mm-hmm. Next year's Raiders can be this year's Falcons, and almost were anyway, right? And look like they have more talent on the defensive side of the ball. I know it's the other conference, but in other words, the league adapts and comes at you. Can they recover? Look, Seattle lost in similarly devastating fashion to the Patriots, a game they should have won. And though they didn't go as far since then, it's not because they were psychologically destroyed. It's because Earl Thomas got hurt, and the offensive line fell apart. It wasn't a psychological destruction of the team. Right. So the Falcons can, and it remains to be seen if they have the kind of wherewithal and character to actually do it.
Yeah, I would say not only can they, I think they will. I mean, you're talking about Dan Quinn, who I have a ton of respect for as a head coach. Matt Ryan's leading the helm at QB. You got a bunch of young players who really gave this game away. I mean, if you look at this, give the Patriots a ton of credit. They hung in there. They battled. Greatest game, that I've watched Super Bowl wise. It was incredible. I mean, I absolutely thought it was just an intense football game, but they made the errors to keep a team in it. This could have been a rout. I mean, let's.
Who do you blame for that? Is it the players,
situational? It's both. I mean, it's both. So from the 3rd and 1, the strip sack, I would lean that towards Shanahan. But again, at that point, you're trying to be aggressive. You're trying to stay with it. I would have handed it off and then punted it. Okay, so the strip sack goes. The very next series, though, you're inside the 25-yard line. You run it the first time. New England calls a timeout, so you know they're going to use their timeouts. You're going to drain them somehow. Run the ball 2 more times. Dan Quinn. I mean, listen, you're the head coach at that point. Look at him and go, man, we're running it. I don't care if it's checked with me. I don't care if we're trying to audible. I want the ball running.
12 in the box.
Yeah.
We're going to run.
By the way, he's been on a team that that didn't run it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's not forget managing situations.
How does that happen with Dan Quinn?
Yeah. So,
how does that happen?
So listen, you get caught up in the moment. You're giving your offensive coordinator leeway, and you should. I understand that. But at that moment, everybody said, hey, you can't assume what's going to happen. Maybe Matt Bryant misses it. Maybe there's a lot of maybes in the world.
I got to ask you about that, though, from Dan Quinn's point of view. We had this whole debate yesterday, and I put it mainly on Dan Quinn, because when you're as a defensive coordinator, when you're helpless and you watch Bevel call a play that you may disagree with, you have to be thinking to yourself, if I'm ever in that position, the very next, 2 seasons, you're in that position, and all you got to do is hand it to the running back twice. You're 99.9% likely to win the game.
You're 11 points up. They're out of timeouts. There's 3 minutes and 40 seconds. You know your defense is gassed. Look, from the 3rd quarter on, really halfway through the 3rd quarter, you saw they were gassed. And we talked about it before. You see how much they've been on the field and how difficult it is to stay with them. You're seeing Brady. You're seeing the momentum change and go the other way. After Julio makes that catch, you got to take advantage of it. All that being said, though, you have a lot of very young players, and they are set up to be very good the next few years. And so as you're looking at this football team, you're going to lose Shanahan. Obviously, he's in San Fran. You're probably going to lose your quarterback coach. He's going to go to the Rams. So you have all kinds of issues that you're talking about. But you got to stick with the same philosophy, because you've bought into the philosophy. Your offensive line mimics it. Your 2 running backs mimic it. Your receiving core, all of that mimics what you want. You have the players in place. Defense is going to be just fine. This is a 1st and 2nd year bunch of players. Dan Quinn's going to have these boys right. They're going to get after it. They're going to do it. But I think from a coaching perspective, you walk in and go, men, we let it go. But here's where you got to pull up the bootstraps, men. We got to keep battling, because we are a very good football team, and this could be the start of a dynasty style team. And I truly believe that. I told somebody a month and a half ago, this may be the deepest offense in total that I've ever seen. Yep. That's a
greatest show on turf.
The deepest. Okay, not necessarily the most, but the deepest. You can go to the 4th tight end, still making plays. You can go to the 5th receiver, still making plays. 3rd running back, still making plays. I mean,
they're young. Their quarterback's still young.
They're hungry. I mean,
they have a great coach.
It's unbelievable. The energy around them is just. This could be the one thing you don't want to do is hang your head and go, we can't get back here. Understand. I let this one get away. It was on me, because truthfully, you got to own it. Matt Ryan, you got to throw that ball away. Situational football, the Patriots, the reason they're so successful is they know they're going to thrive in those situations. Players usually, now, have they made mistakes? Absolutely. I've been on teams and taken advantage of it. I love it because it's so rare. But you got to own it and go, you know what? Should have thrown the ball away. You know what? Should have went for it. All those things. But that's player owned. And once you begin to own it, now you can recover from it. If you just pass it off, that's where you tank it.
One slight thing you didn't bring up.
All right.
We said practically the same thing a year ago about the Carolina Panthers. And they're in the same division. So the thing about that, we have to be careful. I believe in Atlanta based off of what I've seen. And Carolina never had this offense.
Right.
And that's fair. But the flip side to it is that they're within the same division.
Right.
And the fact that they're going to be butting heads with one another, and the last two losers of the Super Bowl are in the same division, and you got that brother Cam coming.
Right.
It's going to be very interesting.
Two other good quarterbacks in that division, too. But other teams aren't as strong.
Right.
Yeah,
but they're struggling. Like, if you look at Carolina, from a coaching perspective, they struggle in the defensive backfield. Yes. This isn't going to be solved overnight.
But that goes back to your Perry comment earlier.
Right? I mean, that doesn't, and they can't score like the Falcons can. Yeah. The Falcons can, the problem you have with that, they can put the pedal down, and it makes you play a different style of football. That's what they have to stay consistent in. They can't become something different.
But, Jeff, to Stephen A's point, watching Carolina in the playoffs and what they did to Seattle, et cetera, last year, the size of the athletes.
Man, they had a
sense, but you still had a sense they were going to be very good this year.
I loved what they did, but I didn't think they were the same. I thought they were built inside out, which I respect. You know, defense and offensive line, front seven. I love that. But on the outside, they don't have nearly the explosion.
Atlanta's another level.
Exactly.
For perspective, only 7 times in Super Bowl history has a team lost and returned to the Super Bowl. The last time was 23 years ago, the Bills, and only twice they've actually won the game. So it has happened. But
say there's a chance.
Every quarter century.
Jeff, thank you for being with us. We appreciate your perspective, as always. The king has spoken. Bring Melo to me.
The report specifically said that LeBron wants Melo so bad, go ahead essentially and push Kevin Love out the door. That's not what he's saying.
Do you believe, LeBron, that the report is trash? In other words, that it's not true? Yes, I believe it's not true.
I'm going to tell you why Carmelo Anthony looks bad. Because the Knicks stink.
All the likely trade partners know is we can get Carmelo, and Phil Jackson is so incompetent in this respect that we don't have to give up anything really good for him.
So Brady's going to keep playing, Max.
Yeah.
If you were giving him an extension, how many years would you have?
I'd give him a huge bonus, right? I mean, you got to pay him out of respect. I'd give him 2 years.
Yeah. Brady's going to fall off a cliff, right, within a year.
Yeah.
But then he comes back here and he says, well, 2 years. And maybe 3 if he gets spread out. Even falling off, he's still better than 28 other quarterbacks in the NFL.
No.
Yes. Yes.
No, it's not.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Yes.
First hour is in the books. What's up, everybody? Welcome back into First Take. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Hour 2 on tap. Stephen A., what you hot on?
What am I hot on? Have you heard the latest news coming out of Texas about the Dallas Cowboys? Have y'all heard? If you haven't, stick around. There's some cowboy talk that's coming up. And I got not me. 2 takes, you lucky. First day, got me.
All right, let's get into it. So over the past few days, LeBron James hasn't held back in sharing his feelings towards some members of the media. He's not happy. Last week, he featured a heated back and forth between King James, of course, and Charles Barkley that got a little too personal. Now LeBron's upset about a New York Daily News report, which said he was pushing for the Cavs to trade Melo, and even if it meant giving up Kevin Love. Listen up.
Can you imagine this team without Kevin Love, LeBron?
Nope.
There was a report in the New York Post today. You're probably familiar with it.
I heard about it. It's trash. And the guy who wrote it is trash, too, for writing that, especially during a game like that. So, you know, it's always about outside noise, and that's just outside noise. For us, we got to focus on what needs to be done in order for us to continue to compete for a championship, and we got who we got. Our GM will do a great job of, you know, figuring out if we need something else, but right now we're in a good place.
You like to reference Jay-Z. Are we talking about fiction or are we talking about facts? Stephen A., what is going on?
You know what? I got to confess to you, Max, Molly, it's difficult to say, to be quite honest with you, in all seriousness, because LeBron being outspoken more than ever before, he's earned that right. He has a huge following, as we know. He's the greatest athlete in the world right now. We all got to give him that level of
We're going to
respect
debate that later, actually.
Well, I'm just saying he's the greatest. Yeah, we're going to debate that later. But I'm just talking about in terms of athletic prowess, what he can do as an athlete. There's just no denying the greatness that he has. But I got to tell you, and this is just a feeling. This is just me, Max. This is not reporting. I haven't heard this from anybody. This is just me covering the sport of the NBA for 2 decades, knowing guys the way that I know them, meaning watching them perform. LeBron is all about titles now. Nothing matters but May and June. April, May, and June. I truly believe that he's trying to control a narrative because he's worried about people compromising everything that he's built because he knows it's on the verge of falling apart if they lose to the Golden State Warriors. We won't be talking about LeBron the king. We won't be talking about LeBron the champion. We'll be talking about what might have been, what was. It'll be past tense because a new era has arrived. Because if Kevin Durant and the Golden State Warriors win this year and they decide to get to stay together because both Kevin Durant and Steph Curry could be up for new contracts this summer, then what are you going to do with them? A legitimate argument could be made. They should be two-time champions right now. And that was before Kevin Durant even arrived. So if you're LeBron, I think you're looking at it. He knows this team is good enough to get to the finals. He knows they're the number one seed in the East. The question is, are you going to win the chip? And right now, that's a huge question mark. And I think that's on his mind more than he's willing to admit.
So what's going on with LeBron is the question. And I think you got it. That instinct is almost right. I would tweak it like this.
Okay.
LeBron knows history's watching. LeBron is measuring himself against the standard that Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time, set. LeBron knows that since his career PER, meaning for his career on average, he's already below Jordan.
Yeah.
And as he declines, he will fall farther below. On average, Jordan was better by the most advanced metrics. And Jordan sitting on 6 chips, and Jordan never choked away 4 consecutive fourth-quarter finals in the finals, as LeBron did against the Mavs. LeBron knows the only way into this conversation is, certainly, he can't be sitting on 3 chips to Jordan's 6. And when he sees what's going on, he realizes he can't be Mr. Nice Guy. I quoted Jay-Z before. I'll quote Rakim. Eric B. and Rakim. Okay? Come say hi to the bad guy. Don't say goodbye. I don't plan to die. That's what he's telling people right now. If I got to be the bad guy, I'm not going out like that. I'm not going out, well, okay, shucks, we didn't get the help we needed. And I'm being undermined in the press by some plant from the Knicks front office to Isola. I don't think he should have gone on at Isola personally. Or Charles Barkley's going at me or whatever it is. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? Mm-hmm. He is in a position where he feels desperate. If he wants to challenge Jordan in history, if he wants to win another championship while he's still the best player on the team, which is how he's going to be measured, it's got to be done right now, and the trade deadline's coming up.
I will tell you this, and I'll tell you where I think LeBron is looking at this all wrong. LeBron may be of the mindset that, it's about those rings. It's about those 6 rings or whatever the case may be. And I've always counted them, meaning I've always looked at Jordan's 6. But more so than the 6, I look at the unblemished record. That's why LeBron can never be MJ to me. It's not because MJ has 6 rings and he has 3. It's because of the 4 titles LeBron has lost. It's those 4 titles, and I'm looking at MJ, and I really think that LeBron only lost 2. I don't hold 2007 against him with San Antonio, all right? And I certainly don't hold the one 2 years ago against him against Golden State because he was a one-man army. There's but so much you can do. What I do hold Dallas against him, okay? I do, that loss to San Antonio wasn't his fault, but it's on his books, no question about it. And so I just look at it from this perspective. LeBron doesn't have to win 6. If he won this year, after Kevin Durant decides to jump on the wagon with the Splash Brothers and Draymond Green, if LeBron wins this year, I'm sorry, you got to look at him in a different light.
After coming back down 3-1 last year.
Well, again,
after taking it to 6 games the year before with no one.
I'm stuck in the middle in neutral because I don't take it away from him that he won that title. But that suspension of Draymond Green was that pivotal to me.
Stuff happens.
No. What I'm saying is that I don't view it the same way. I'm not delegitimizing it. It's yours. You won the title. You came back from 3-1. But having gone up 3-1 in Cleveland and coming back to Golden State for that Game 5, I believe if Draymond Green doesn't get suspended,
get it together, Dre.
the title
That's part
is
of playing with Draymond Green.
I look at LeBron, and I'm going to say this. When I said he was scared, I don't mean him, the individual. LeBron ain't scared of nobody. He'll get on the court and do his thing. I was saying that as a team collectively, he's smart enough to know, as presently constructed, they're not good enough, as far as I'm concerned, to beat Golden State. And I think that is on his mind, that he knows that.
LeBron fans would counter your, well, Jordan's unblemished in the finals, LeBron has lost a bunch, with that's because LeBron has been to more finals. There are very good counter arguments to that. We're not going to do them right now, but I actually think the counter arguments win that argument.
It's like Montana and Tom Brady, the same type of thing.
If LeBron wins this year, I don't think there's anything we can say about him. I mean, he wins this year.
I think we're already
it will be his greatest
another
achievement.
Level.
It will be his greatest achievement. If he wins this year.
Even above last year, which was insane.
Even
above the year before, when he single-handedly took him to 6 games against the Warriors. Yes.
This would be great.
Let's stay in the NBA, and we go wall to wall. Arguably, the best game in the NBA season happened last night between LeBron's Cavs and the Wizards. Here's a little recap for you.
Beal, he'll step back. Oh, he broke the ankles of Shepard. And LeBron out to Love. 3. Good! Kevin Love is a sharpshooter. Washington down by 1. No good. Rebound Morris. He puts it back in. Love. LeBron. And got it. Banks it in. Ties it at 120. That's a shot he's not going to forget. Here we go with the overtime. Beal, 3, good. Bradley Beal is an assassin. He'll fake, he'll shoot, he'll score. Kyrie Irving is a flamethrower.
This might be the best game that I've seen this year.
What a game in the day after the Super Bowl. Max, what do you think? Eastern Conference Finals preview right there?
If I had to guess, obviously, the Cavs are going to be there. I would say, Washington. And the reason I say that, because who are the candidates? It's Boston, it's Toronto, or it's Washington. And as insanely out of his mind as Isaiah Thomas is playing right now, and he's on a good team with an excellent coach, I mean, fourth quarter scoring on top of everything else, the fact of the matter is this. What it usually comes down to in the NBA, is of the good teams, who has the best player, who has the most special player. And when you look at the likely candidates to actually get there, apologies to Lowry and DeRozan and all those guys, and Isaiah Thomas, all those guys, the most special player in the East on a good team is John Wall. And I think that if he starts to truly realize his potential, which I think, especially the way Porter's shooting the ball and Beal's fearlessness and Gortat in the middle, I think this Washington team is likely to get past the other, either it's the Celtics or the Raptors, because in the moment of truth in the NBA, among good teams, between good teams, the best player usually wins. And I believe of all the non-Cavs in the East, that's John Wall.
Few things that need to be said here. Number one, Scott Brooks is doing an outstanding job. Ernie Grunfeld is doing an outstanding job because he hired Scott Brooks. The Washington Wizards were 7-13 to start the season. Over the last 31 games, they are 23-8. That's their record. If the Washington Wizards hold on, if they avoid the 4th seed or the 5th seed, which means they won't have to play the Cavs until the conference finals, let me put everybody on notice in the NBA and Chocolate City in particular. The Washington Wizards are going to the Eastern Conference Finals. John Wall is spectacular. And here's why I say this. The numbers speak to you in terms of 23-10 and all of this other stuff. Molly, Max, he plays on both ends of the floor. First quarter, fourth quarter, wall to wall. He shows up on both ends of the floor. Dudes don't want him defending them. Bad enough he's lightning fast with the ball. Bad enough he's big enough and aggressive enough to get to the hole. He will attack you defensively. He's not going to get punked. That's a very big deal. Bradley Beal, are you ready for this, Max? My modern-day Allen Houston. This brother's got a smooth stroke. He can put it up. His numbers get better in the postseason. The problem with Beal, he don't show up every night during the regular season. But during the postseason, there. Otto Porter has come out of nowhere. Shooting the lights out. I mean, Otto Porter has been special. This dude, let me look at his number right here. 53% from the field. 46% from three-point range, 46.7% from three-point range.
What did he shoot last year for three? Like 30, I don't have the number in front of me. But Marquise Morris, Martin Gortat, these guys, it's good. I'm not sure about their depth, even though I like Oubre and Thornton and these boys. But in the end, and not only that, with Wall,
with Beal, and more importantly, with that fan base, which is special. I am here right now to tell the basketball world I'm looking forward to the Cleveland Cavaliers against the Washington Wizards in the Eastern Conference Finals. If they stay at a 2 or 3 seed, they can't be at the 4th or 5th seed.
In order to do that,
they have to be the 2 or the 3 seed.
In order to do that, like John Wall, as I said, is differently talented than any other player who's not on the Cavs in the East on a good team, right? Like, yeah, Porzingis is different, Embiid, but especially of the guards, when you look at the good teams, he's the most talented player. I like his team. Here's what I'm looking for John Wall to join the Westbrook, Harden kind of level of point guard. He needs to be consistent in second half of games and in the second half of the season. And if he does that, he will be mentioned. He's already sometimes mentioned in that category, but he will be mentioned much more consistently, and he won't be overlooked as much. If he can do that, they will make the Eastern Conference Finals.
You know what? Let me tell you something right now. You can say that. I'm just looking at the fact that John Wall's got that kind of heart, and he's the kind of person that can galvanize a team. And this is the type of team that can be galvanized by a city. And if a city is galvanized by anything, meaning Chocolate City, the nation's capital, it's going to be at the thought, the specter of going up against LeBron James for a right to get to the NBA Finals. I have gotten to a point where I am convinced that the Washington Wizards are going to the conference finals.
Okay, here's my question, though.
Yes.
Can they beat the Cavs?
No.
Don't be ridiculous.
No, because you know why? Here's why. Here's why. Because LeBron is not just too gifted, but his stature is so supreme that when it gets tight, not only can he close the deal, but he's going to get the benefit of calls. Playoff basketball slows down. It becomes a bit more physical, and there are some on Washington who can handle it, but most of them are entirely too new to it. That will not work to their advantage,
One last thing.
And that is the reason.
One last thing. If it seems like LeBron gets a lot of lucky breaks, the ball happens to wind up in Ray Allen's hands, and if not for that Allen shot, whatever, it's not just because of calls. Michael Jordan teams, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird teams, Kobe Bryant teams, LeBron James teams. The role players seem to come up big in big moments, not only because they're good, but because there is so much attention placed on the star. Because the star is so great, you're always in a position to win the game at the end.
I'll close it out this way. The Washington Wizards and the Cleveland Cavaliers will go a minimum of 6 games, possibly 7, if Washington holds up its end of the bargain and gets to the conference finals.
But the Cavs are certainly
based on the seeding,
yes,
of course,
but I'm telling you, they're going to make it interesting because the Cavs take moments off.
Washington's got to get there first. I mean, Boston and Toronto, I like them, but that's
Boston will be very interesting, more so than Toronto, even though Dwayne Casey's a hell of a coach. Washington's going to the conference finals.
Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good! The Cavaliers are NBA champions. Cleveland! This is for you!
Brady gets a snap, pitches out White, gets a block. He digs, he turns, he dives! Touchdown! The Patriots have won Super Bowl 51.
2 of the greatest players to ever do it won championships in dramatic fashion over the past year. LeBron James brought the Cavaliers back from down 3-1 to beat the reigning champion Warriors, and Tom Brady rallied from down 25 points to win the Super Bowl on Sunday. Both incredible. But here's how they stack up. So they've both been to 7 championships. LeBron doing it in less time, but Brady has the edge in chips. But LeBron has the edge in league MVP. So we asked you to weigh in at home, who's better or the best in their sport, Brady or LeBron? And 56% said Tom Brady. Stephen A? Oh, we'll go to Max. Max?
Yes.
Did they get it right?
Way off. This should be something like, I'm surprised at that. Although football is a more popular sport, I don't think that will last very long, but it is now. And it should be something like 75 or 80% for LeBron. Here's the problem. When you normalize for the sport, in other words, if you say, how is Brady versus the quarterbacks in history against how is LeBron versus the players in history in the NBA, Brady, you might say, ranks higher on that list than LeBron. But there's no such thing as a football player who has the same sway on the outcome of a game, even a great quarterback, as a basketball player. There's no football player that could ever affect the outcome of a game, a season, a championship, the way Michael Jordan could or LeBron James could, which is one of the reasons there's never been a Michael Jordan of football. I mean, the closest thing you'd say is Jim Brown, maybe once upon a time, Johnny Unitas, but there never really has been. You could say the Michael Jordan of a position, Jerry Rice, but who's been the Michael Jordan of football? No one really. Now, there's a simple way to see the impact they actually have on their team. You bristle when I bring up Molly, when I bring up Bill Belichick, who's always been clearly more important to the success than Tom Brady, though Brady gives you a premium even over Belichick's over other quarterbacks. Let's see. What is the career record of the teams that they've played on when they've played and when they haven't played, right? Isn't that the perfect way to see their value?
Yep.
With Brady, 183-53, that's a 78% winning percentage. Without Brady, 13-7, 65%. In other words, they're better with Brady than without him, but they're still winning almost twice as much as they're losing over.
You're talking about like Matt Castle when they didn't make it to the playoffs.
Sure.
So
but they're 13 and
that's just regular season.
They are
right?
13-7 overall when Brady is not playing. They win almost twice as much as they lose. Brady elevates that because he's the greatest ever, right? LeBron James, 695, 339 for a 67% winning percentage. His teams win twice as much throughout his career as they lose when he's playing. Without LeBron, 23-43, 35%. They lose twice as much as they win. LeBron clearly, this is an easy way to tell. 13-7, by the way, in football is over a season's worth. So it's a large sample size. LeBron's influence on the outcome of games is twice as great as Brady's. So no, Brady is not more important to his teams and not the greater influencer.
Despite the fact that you're incredibly happy, you've got a beautiful family, beautiful wife, beautiful kids, and everything like that, I now know why. You don't always look as happy as you truly are. It's because you're such a thinker. You go so deep. You go so deep, Max Kellerman. You make things far more complicated than they are. It's very, very simple. Tom Brady knows how to throw a football.
Yeah.
LeBron James knows how to do practically everything else. It's really that simple. Tom Brady's not 6'8", 240. He's not a locomotive coming at you. He can't, he can't skywalk, for crying out loud. He can't leap tall buildings with a single bound per se. He can't do all of those things. He can throw a football. He's very, very exceptional at it. Congratulations to him, the best arguably to have ever done it. After what I saw Sunday, I'm willing to concede he's the best ever as a quarterback. But as an athlete, in terms of just the bevy of things,
LeBron too?
Of course I'm going
talking
LeBron.
About specialized skill.
I'm just saying,
the NFL, you have specialized skill. NBA, you got to do everything.
NBA, you got to do everything. And LeBron, when you talk about an athlete, Brady is not on that level. No.
I just want to throw one person out and then you continue it. If we're going championships this year, great athlete at their sport,
Serena?
The best, Serena Williams.
Well, listen.
Oh, Serena's in that.
We don't need to debate that. I just need to mention her and show her some love.
I have said that Serena Williams, to me, she's the closest thing to Muhammad Ali because of what she has had to endure in the midst of capturing, of solidifying her greatness. My only point in saying that is, again, I think that tennis to some degree is specialized. Now, don't get me wrong.
The only one out there.
She's phenomenal. She's
phenomenal.
But LeBron and basketball.
It's very straightforward, actually. Okay. Brady plays with the most teammates, therefore he has the least sway on the outcome of the game. Okay. LeBron plays with fewer teammates, so he has more sway on the outcome of the game. Serena plays by herself, so she has the most sway on the outcome of the game. The individual sports, the fewer teammates you play with, the less you're dependent on them, and she's not dependent on anyone other than herself. But here's another thought experiment to try. The Martians have a death beam pointed at the Earth. They say, bring us to your greatest Earthling athlete, and our Martian athlete's going to have a competition with the Earthling athlete, and we won't blow up the Earth if you win the competition. We would say, well, never mind what the competition is. It's just a series of athletic events. Are you taking them to Serena Williams, Tom Brady, or LeBron James? We are every single person on the Earth.
Tough.
Every single person on the Earth with the fate of the Earth on the line, everyone who likes soccer, football, basketball, doesn't matter what, is taking them to LeBron James.
What the hell are you going to bring up next? The planet Krypton? I mean, I just don't know.
He may be from the planet Krypton.
I just don't know. I'm just checking. Go ahead. I'm like, damn. I'm saying Max got me sitting there thinking, damn, what country? What's he talking about? I'm trying to remember I'm trying to remember.
All right, so you guys are both going with LeBron, obviously. LeBron's the greatest at his sport. When we come back, no teams have yet to visit Donald Trump at the White House. And there are already 2 Patriots who have refused to attend. Also coming up, the Cowboys have the second best odds to win the championship next season, but should they? We'll get into all of it.
Hi, this is Maury Moreland Morrison, here to tell you Geico has more than just great savings. Much more. Geico's been around for more than 75 years, back when they were using Morse code. Sorry, that's just my sense of humor. What's more, with Geico you get 24/7 access to licensed agents on the app, online, or over the phone, so you can talk to them at night or in the morning. So forevermore, just know that no other auto insurer has more than Geico. More power to you. Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Rivalry week rolls on tonight on ESPN with an SEC Big Ten doubleheader at 7 p.m. Eastern. Kentucky hosts LSU. Then we head to Ann Arbor for Michigan State, Michigan Super Tuesday, presented by CenturyLink. On ESPN, you know this music. Our next NBA Wednesday doubleheader tomorrow on ESPN at 7. The Clippers take it on the Knicks, then the Bulls take on the Warriors. As the Patriots celebrate their Super Bowl victory, one of the stops along the way will be a team trip to the White House. And now that Donald Trump has been elected president, some players, including Martellus Bennett, have publicly said that they will not be part of the visit. Bennett's teammate, Devin McCourty, says he won't be attending either, saying the following in a text message to Time. I'm not going to the White House. Basic reason for me is I don't feel accepted in the White House. With the president having so many strong opinions and prejudices, I believe certain people might feel accepted while others will not. Will Kane is here with us, but I am starting with you, Max Kellerman. Your reaction to players choosing to skip their honorary visit to the White House?
Well, this is nothing new, first of all. And in spite of strong signals from the White House of authoritarian intentions, this remains a free country. Mm-hmm. And players, at the moment, are still allowed to skip that visit. And this is something that players have exercised in the Obama White House and others. They've decided, and I anticipate that increasingly there will be more protests of this White House and this president in particular.
By the way, just to interject, both white and black. Tom Brady,
sure.
James Harrison.
Sure.
Just the name of
To me, it's less of a story that Bennett isn't going than it is the players and the people who choose to go. Because I hope that Martin Luther King was right when he said the moral arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice. I hope that's right. And history is watching. And I'm surprised that Bennett's boycott, if you will, or snub, is the story, because given what has gone on with this administration so far, and even the rhetoric in the campaign, I and Stephen A. and others said, hey, clean slate, let's see what happens, and then some things have happened since then. To me, the story is those who choose to go. History is watching.
Go ahead, Will.
Jake Arrieta. You said Tom Brady, James Harrison. This has been going back decades, from Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. There's a long, I don't know if we would call it tradition, but there is a long history of players not going to the White House for political reasons. Actually, I'm curious, where do you think I land on this?
Well, actually, you, Evan McMullen, the independent candidate from Utah, who's been very active on Twitter and in other places opposing it, David Frum and others, people who, the loyal opposition, who aren't strictly partisan, I believe, fall on the moral side.
Where do you think he is? Where do you think he is, Max?
I think that he would support someone not going to the White House in this case.
Absolutely correct.
Right.
I have no problem with someone, A, having a political opinion, and B, exercising that political opinion in the form of protest, in the form of speaking out. What I have a problem with is the requirement that others bend to your argument, that others bend to your position. Not your, Max Kellerman, your in the broad sense. Martellus Bennett holds an opinion. He clearly believes it somewhat deeply. I have no problem him exercising that opinion. You know, it's interesting. At the beginning of this football season, we had this same debate when it came to Colin Kaepernick and his decision to kneel during the national anthem. And I quite vocally on this show and others said I had a problem with that. But let me tell you the difference here and why I had a problem in one situation and not in the other. It's about the method, not the message. Set aside Colin Kaepernick's message, which is worthy of its own debate, but just simply the method. When Colin Kaepernick spoke, for me, what he indicted was something broad and deep, the idea of America, the flag, the national anthem, the deep-held moral ideas that are the underpinning of this country. That method that he chose to protest, I felt, was too broad of an indictment. It said too many things about too broad of a question, about too important of a concept when it comes to America. Quite the opposite. When it comes to Martellus Bennett, he is taking a specific stand against a specific person and a specific set of policies. Now, again, set aside the message. I don't know that I agree with Martellus Bennett from start to finish on the reasons he or Devin McCourty would choose not to go to the White House. But I will support his method. He has a right. No one in this country has to appear and stand before power. We are not a king. Yet. We are not an aristocracy. It is not required of you to bend before power. And he chooses not to, and I will support his opinion regardless of whether or not I agree or disagree.
Hopefully you two will enjoy this moment that I'm about to give to both of you, because I think it's very, very important to say. I agree with a lot of what you say, just not as passionate as you get about it because you assume everybody is as knowledgeable as you on certain subjects. That's all. But I applaud your soul and your conscience. Same being said for you, even though our politics are obviously different. I feel the same way about you. When I heard about Martellus Bennett, I had a different take. Of course, it's his right not to go, and nobody's disputing that and what have you. But what I appreciated about him is that he was clear and specific as to why that was. And one of the things, and I lean back on my man Joe Madison, who hosts his show on the Urban View channel on Sirius XM, channel 126, every weekday morning from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Because he's a guy that used to be the former president of NAACP in Detroit and what have you, and he's an advocate. And one of the things that he constantly asks people is, number one, why do you feel this way? Explain yourself. And number two, what are you going to do about it? And when I think about African Americans, as it pertains to the positions that a lot of us are taking when it comes to Trump, I want to know why you feel that way. Forget how you feel. I want to know why. Because at that particular moment in time, I will be able to gauge where you are. See, what we have to concern ourselves with overall as a society is when we're willing to say, well, he's racist. Okay. Why? What exactly is it that he said that you have a problem with? Because if I ask you that question, if I ask you that question, I know you have an answer. You see where I'm going? Yeah. No. What I'm saying to you, I know you have an answer.
Right. But do you feel like, I don't believe that Trump is racist.
Exactly.
But I'm curious.
No, I don't
do you
either.
feel like,
no,
that's not what I'm asking you. Do you feel like Devin McCourty or Martellus Bennett have not given you the why?
I feel that they made an attempt to, which I'm cool with, because I don't know how much they were probed. I don't know how extensive their answer was. It's just a quote. So I understand that they may have given that answer, but we just may not have known it. What I'm saying is it's incredibly important that when we take public stances, too many people take public stances and they don't back it up. And I think it's easy to attach an ism to an abundance of people without being required to explain why you feel that way. So to me, you guys just saying they have a right not to go or whatever the case may be.
I want to respond specifically to something,
but I still want to know why specifically. Not from them, but that's where I'm going.
It's not about partisan politics, by the way. It's about right and wrong. So, for example, when Colin Kaepernick, you brought it up earlier, had his protest, I supported even his method and a lot of what he was protesting. And yet when he had the Castro shirt on, who's all the way to the left, incidentally, right? Timeout. That was stupid, right? And people, and I heard about that. Oh, you can, no. It's not about politics. Why people like you didn't support Trump, even though the politics, the policy that you may get out of it you may like. But it's about decency and, in fact, ethical behavior and morality. It's about something larger than politics. It's about right and wrong. And that goes for if it's on the left or the right. It has nothing to do, in fact, with policy or politics.
Can I just add one thing and take right or wrong out of it? Whether you choose
does have something to do with policy.
Whether you choose to go to the White House or not, in my personal opinion, it's your prerogative, and this has nothing to do with where I stand politically. But sometimes it's not about Donald Trump. Sometimes it's about the experience and wanting to go to the White House and the history of it and other presidents, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So it's not
just... But if a president debases the office, then I would argue at a certain point...
It's not always saying I'm supporting Trump. It might be
You're
that I've earned this,
Molly,
and it's a once in a lifetime.
In other words, everyone has a
experience.
you have a right to free speech and expression.
You're absolutely right. The experience in of itself is worth it to some. Max clearly feels like this is a situation where your feelings of right and wrong supersede whatever.
As yours do, but go ahead.
Well, look, man, I'll tell you this. Right and wrong are very important concepts, but they're not beyond the concept of disagreement. They can be disagreed upon, discussed,
but in this
debated.
case, we happen to agree. But go ahead.
I'm not here to debate politics, to be honest. I'm here to debate whether or not people can say what they want to say and when they should be asked to explain themselves. One quick point to you. I think it's an interesting question. When you should be required to explain your why. We just had this debate, did we not, when it comes to Tom Brady? Yeah. And I'm not sure I know the bright dividing line of when you've injected yourself into a political debate or when you've simply decided I'm not going to go to the White House because it doesn't mesh with my feelings. I don't think, by the way, Tom Brady needed to explain a hat or a relationship. And by the way, I also don't think that Martellus Bennett has to explain his reasoning for not going to the White House. But I will agree with you this. There is a point where you've injected yourself so much into a debate. In fact, perhaps in some situations like Kaepernick, become the leader of a debate. And at that point, you need to know your why and explain it to us.
That's true. But also, if you are in the public eye and you decide to disseminate an opinion for public consumption, then ultimately that puts you in a position where everyone has a right to demand why you feel that way because you took the liberty of injecting yourself publicly.
And one point has to be made because one of the things that I guard against is this idea that what is happening right now is normal and business as usual. Do we agree that these are not usual times, as in not the presidency of anyone else that we have experienced in our lifetimes?
We got to leave it there.
Joker team and Big D. That's what makes this funny. How about the
snap to Rodgers, rolls left, throws it deep down the left side. He's got his man on a bounce, caught at the 34-yard line by Jared Cook with 3 seconds left. Crosby for the game, 51 and away. It's good, and the Packers win the game. And the Cowboys season has come to an end.
How about the Cowboys?
Let's keep it real for a moment. Deep down inside, most of us, the sports world, was probably rooting for a Cowboys-Patriots Super Bowl this season, except for Max. But thanks to that bad man, that didn't quite happen. Well, that matchup could be coming our way next season. That's what Vegas thinks, as it's the most likely matchup for Super Bowl 52, according to Westgate Las Vegas Superbook, with New England at 5-1 odds to win it all. Dallas 8-1. Will is still here. Stephen A.
Oh, God, here we go.
Yes? What are you asking?
Do you think Vegas got it right?
Hell no. Hell no, they don't. But I'll tell you this.
A.
Let me break it down. Y'all
take out your personal
y'all fall back. Excuse me. I'm allowed to have my personal biases anytime I want, as long as I'm open and honest about it. And I am very, very biased against the Dallas Cowboys. I despise their fan base. I can't stand them. They make me sick. And the joy that I get from seeing
their
Cowboy fans,
their running back, their quarterback,
the joy that I get from seeing Dallas Cowboy fans miserable, it's not better than everything, but it's better than most things. So now, having said all that, I'm keeping it classy. But having said all that, here's the deal. The Dallas Cowboys are a formidable team. They cannot be ignored. I recognize their talent, etc. I think about Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers and what they're going to get back. I mean, these guys are going to get healthy. If they get healthy, look out. Atlanta has shown you what they're capable of doing. I wouldn't sleep on Carolina. I wouldn't sleep on Seattle next year either. I think they've learned the error of their ways.
You're going to take all the teams. You're going to leave something for us.
No, I'm sorry. Good point. Good point.
You can have them.
No, you're
I know
right.
where I'm going.
You're right. I'm only making a point to say there are other teams to consider. Yeah. The last point that I want to make is this, and I'm tired of being misquoted about this.
Okay.
I have never questioned the talent of the Dallas Cowboys. I have always said what can go wrong will go wrong. Just wait. And somehow, some way, and I've even said this to you, and you got to own up to this. That's why you were so sick to your stomach. I sat up there and I looked at you and I said to Darren Woodson too, I said, are y'all sure they're going to be eligible?
Will, I'm going to say something real quick, and then the floor is yours.
Right.
I think the odds are about right. I think maybe the Falcons could be number 2 instead of the Cowboys, maybe. But I would say this team that you haven't mentioned. If Derek Carr is healthy, the Raiders are the Falcons plus better talent on defense.
But they're in the AFC, same division as the Pats.
That's
Same
right.
conference.
That's right. But I like their odds a whole lot this upcoming
Problem
season.
for the Raiders is they got to deal with a team that's won double-digit wins for 14 straight years, the New England Patriots.
Yes.
Yeah. You're pretty well paid around here, I think, at ESPN, right? You do all right.
I could be doing better.
Well, and then that is my question.
Now, I'm happy, but do I think I deserve more? Hell yes.
It must be nothing compared to what you're making in Vegas on all these bets. You know better than these bookies. 8-1? I mean, 8-1 versus what can go wrong will go wrong?
I will confess to you, the bookies in Vegas do communicate with me.
And you consistently beat the house on what can go wrong will go wrong?
It works.
The house got nothing on you, man.
22 years and counting.
Let me tell you.
22 years
what
and
rational
counting.
people do.
22 years and counting.
By the way, it can go wrong, will go wrong. That's the reason Cowboys aren't 1-1 odds. That gives you a reason for them not to be a sure thing. But 8-1, second best odds is right where they should be.
Right.
They've got an offense you can count on being there next year, and the Falcons are their model on defense. They have players on their roster, Jalen Smith, Byron Jones, that are going to be getting better and better.
Give me all the names.
They're going to have
all of them. Keep giving me the names, because you said the names before they lost. So keep going. Keep going.
What do you want?
Because you were sitting right in that chair and
Sean
you were
Lee,
depressed.
Barry Church.
What happened? Because the same players let you down, just like I told you they would. I told you you wouldn't even win a playoff game.
Maybe your argument is that someone loses. 31 teams lose.
No.
You're making an argument for the Cowboys not being 1-1
Don't lie
odds.
to America. I told you right in that chair that Dallas Cowboys would not win a playoff game. That's what I said.
They're coach one season a year.
I don't remember that at all.
Quarterback rookie of the year.
By your
There's a
math,
lot
they
to be
should make it to a
optimistic
Super Bowl every 16 years
Clark
at least.
Kent got a selective amnesia.
All right.
Clark Kent got
You do
selective
have some
amnesia.
nice hair. Okay,
It's all right.
time out. On a much more serious note, when we come back, and I'm very grateful that you are addressing this topic. Will, thank you for being with us.
You bet.
I'd love to say we've been here before, but I'm not sure that we have. Of course, there are college programs that have deserved fines. Others have deserved suspensions. There have been sanctions that entail banishment from NCAA tournaments or bowl games. In the case of Penn State, pertaining to the Jerry Sandusky's child abuse scandal, the death penalty was warranted, in my opinion, but not handed down. And then there's the program at Baylor, a program evidently so corrupt, so vile, so corrosive, you actually find yourself contemplating what they say about cats, wishing they had 9 lives, just so it could suffer death 9 times over. Please don't think I'm exaggerating. I'm not playing. Consider these numbers according to numerous reports. There have been 125 reports of sexual assault or harassment at Baylor from 2011 to 2015, with the former Title IX coordinator at the school swearing the number may actually be higher. 19 football players have purportedly assaulted 17 women since 2011, according to Baylor Regents, with numbers continuing to climb. A February court filing bumped that number to 31 football players having committed 52 rapes. Accusations have ranged from harassment to rape. There have been indictments and convictions. An athletic director is gone. So is the school president. So is former coach Art Browse, who conveniently dropped his libel lawsuit against the university just one day before text messages were released showing his dereliction of duty. Oh, did I forget to mention attempts at manipulating law enforcement officials along the way, all for the sake of the football program? This screams death penalty, without question. With Sandusky and Penn State, as vile as that was, there appears to have been limited knowledge. In the case of Baylor, this is systemic. And if the NCAA can't do anything, fearing the same fate they suffered once having to settle with Penn State for the sanctions they handed down, fine. That ain't even necessary any longer. All that needs to be done is for every parent in the United States of America to stand up, speak loudly, collectively, and say, quote, there's no way in hell my daughter is ever going to Baylor. In the end, that's death in and of itself.
Seriously, Stephen A., I don't know what they're waiting for. 126 incidents. What's
Why
the point
have
of having a death penalty
if you don't use it in this case? Well said, my brother. Well said.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. If you want to check it out, head to our Facebook and Twitter pages. They all live there. We'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great day. Thanks so much for listening to the pod. Catch First Take weekdays, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific on ESPN. Have a lovely day, and we'll see you all tomorrow morning.
Russell Westbrook promised to pay Zaza Pachulia back for a hard foul. Plus, he faces ex-teammate Kevin Durant once again.